The sentence builder is a powerful tool that you can use to model to your children the specific elements that they need in order to craft their own topic sentences or thesis statements. Yet, how do we go from this large manipulative to slowly releasing responsibility to independently write their own topic sentences? On this page, you will see a completed worksheet with the specific steps students follow in order to have all the information necessary for a big idea about information. Before I walk through the steps, one of the things that I want to say to you is this. On the following page, you will notice a black line master of this topic sentence worksheet. These lessons can be presented whole group, in small groups, or students can write these topic sentences independently once they have control over the steps and can write the sentence on their own. What I love about this organizer is this is not something that I just use for a short period of time. Instead, I highly suggest that you duplicate many copies of these, staple them together, and create a big idea booklet for your students. This way, all year long, if you just finished reading a passage of information, if you were in your science book and read some information, if you saw a video, if you were giving a lecture, when the children are learning information regardless of the medium, when you're finished, you could have them take out their big idea notebook and they can follow through the steps, fill in the information to create what was the big idea about we just learned today. That's a lifelong skill, and that's why I highly suggest that you keep this activity all year long. Let's walk through the steps. Notice on the organizer, we have setting, subject, big idea. That's our SS light bulb secret formula that we had learned using the sentence builder. From that first S, we have what word? Setting. The second S, subject, and the light bulb is the big idea. Underneath the setting, we know the setting tells us time and place, so when and where. This is optional. The setting is optional. You don't always need a setting when you have a big idea about information. The subject and the big idea, though, are mandatory for a topic sentence. The subject is who or what is this information about? And then the big idea is what about the subject? Why is it so important? So you not only have setting, subject, big idea, but you have the metacognitive questions children need to ask about the information in order to form this topic sentence. Let's go to step 1. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to go to the subject and we are going to ask, who or what is this information about? The students in science were learning about erosion, and in this particular case, they were learning about sediment. So they wrote down sediment. And after they wrote down sediment, so notice in these boxes, you can have keywords or simple drawings. And just to clarify about keywords and simple drawings, I really don't mandate what the children put in these different information squares. I tell them, you're going to either draw a picture or put keywords, whatever makes sense to you. We're all different. We don't want to have children do something that doesn't make sense to them. So some kids, drawing a quick picture is much easier than writing a keyword. On the other hand, some need to write keywords, or some like to do a combination. It doesn't matter. I tell them whatever makes sense. It just needs to be fast and quick. This is to record your ideas. So our first step was sediment. Notice underneath there, we put a drop box so that we could identify what sediment was. That's optional. You don't need to do that. Then the second step, after we said sediment, we said, what's the big idea about sediment? And that's when we went back and we looked at all our information that we had learned about sediment. I'm focusing mainly on information that is going to sequence or be categorized. And I'm going to ask 2 questions. What are we going to tell about the sediment? That is actually going to be information that is in categories. Or what happened in this information about sediment? That's when you're going to have a sequence. So notice what I'm doing is I'm specifically asking, what are we going to tell about sediment, or what happened in this information about sediment? And from those prompts, you will either have different items about sediment that you've learned. I'm going to tell you about all the different types of sediment. That's going to take me to categories. Or if I say, what about sediment? What's the big idea about sediment? What happened in this information about sediment? That's when I'm going to tell you about something that has to sequence. There were steps or a process. Something happened and it has to go in order. So that's why when you're doing this activity, you may want to add tell about or what happened in connection with what's the big idea. So let's go back. Sediment. Step 2, let's fill in what's the big idea from the information that we've been learning. What about sediment? What's the big idea about sediment? What happened in this information about sediment? We were talking about how sediment moves. So when you have sediment, it's not just going to stay there, it moves. So what we did was we just went over and drew a picture showing how sediment moves. Then we asked our second question, who cares? Why is this so important? Oh, so we learned that sediment moves, but no one cares unless we know why this is important. Oh, because when sediment moves, there's a lot of that rock and sand and gravel and twigs and pebbles, and it's all moving. So what does it do when it moves? It changes the landforms. It's changing the surface of our earth. Oh, that's important information. So we went over and we drew some pictures of some mountains there and wrote the word changes or changes landforms. You don't need to draw the picture. You could just write changes landforms. You could have a combination. Really, it's just here to record your ideas. Next, we went back and said, okay, we know there's sediment. We know that it moves. And because it moves, it changes the landforms. So I put the ideas down. After I have 1 and 2 filled in with the ideas, I will then practice saying this sentence. Ready? Sediment moves, so it changes landforms. That sounds okay. Let's use some powerful verbs. Instead of just saying moves, what other words can we use? And that's when we talked about, oh, it slides down the mountain. Oh, it's flowing because many times it'll be in water. So we came up with flows, slides, moves. And we put our commas there so that we could have a 3-verb phrase, adding more interest to our big idea. Let's go back now and read it. Sediment flows, slides, and moves down hillsides, causing landforms to change. Wow, that sounds great. Let's say it one more time. Sediment flows, slides, and moves down hillsides, causing landforms to change. Excellent sentence. We have our subject and our big idea. Do we need to add any other information? And that would mean our setting, number 3. Does our reader need to know when this happens? Does our reader need to know where this happens? Yes, I think they do need to know that. So we went back and said, well, sediment is usually going to move when we talked about how it's flowing. Well, there's water involved, so we need to say that this is during stormy weather, rainy weather. Let's put that there. Where does this happen? Oh, we need to let them know that we're talking about in the mountains, so we drew some mountains there. Let's go back and say it again. During stormy weather, out in the mountains, sediment flows, slides, and moves, causing landforms to change. Excellent job. Let's go back and add some fancy words. Let's go over to our first box. Shall we describe that kind of rainy weather? And we decided we would put stormy weather. Shall we describe the mountains? Well, we're really talking about those tall mountains, so we put tall, majestic. And then we went over to our other part of our paragraph, and we said that we were fine because we already described the mountains in the location, the where box. So we had our fancy words. We have all of the information in our boxes. Let's go back and let's read the whole thing. During stormy weather, in the tall, majestic mountains, sediment flows, slides, and moves down hillsides, causing landforms to change. Excellent job. The final part of this lesson is punctuation time. What word did we start with? During. Then let's write the word during in this first box. And make sure you have that capital D. During stormy weather in the tall, majestic mountains. That's a setting. What do I need after setting? A comma. Sediment flows, slides, and moves. Those are three verbs. How do I need to separate them? Flows, comma, slides, comma, and moves, causing landforms to change, period. The students now orally rehearse their sentence, and then they write it down. When they finish writing it down, they go back and they put, with a red pencil, capitals, commas, and period in place. They read their sentence to make sure it makes sense, and now they have a completed big idea for a paragraph or a thesis statement if they were writing multiple paragraphs, or just writing a big idea about information that they've just learned. I highly suggest that you keep this activity in your instructional program all year long. Connect it to your science, your social studies, any content that you're learning if you just want the kids to write a big idea statement. It also is an activity that you use to slowly release children from learning the SS light bulb to independently writing this sentence on their own. Good luck, and I hope that you use this activity.